It's crazy looking at my journey and where I'm at today. Very grateful by the grace of God that I'm still here and able to do what I'm doing. I will definitely say my greatest deficits have become my greatest assets. But as a young kid, to shed light on mental health and the struggles that I went through, and after doing all the work that I've done, I can actually see that I struggled with addiction way before I ever picked up a drink or a drug. And what I mean by that is the low self-esteems, the insecurities, severe OCD was one of the things I struggled with at 12, 13 years old. I used to actually wash my hands compulsively to the point where it was about 30 times a day. And I'd have to wear neoprene gloves at night with Neosporin in them because when I closed my hand, it would crack and they would bleed. I had amazing support from my parents, and they did everything that they possibly could for me during that time. Saw a therapist, saw a psychiatrist, went to them. But at that age, late 90s, early 2000s, was not really sure how to communicate what was really going on. And so doctors gave me the prescription, basically helped mitigate the symptoms, but I never ended up dealing with the underlying issues, right? So, at that young age, I was experiencing all these different things. And I was really living a double life because that's what it looked like behind closed doors. But on the outside, I was always perceived as somebody that was popular. I was, athletic, always had a girlfriend, kind of had those things going for me. Almost had a very idyllic looking life. But behind closed doors, as you saw this very sick kid that was suffering and did not know how to express or explain what was going on. And again, grew up in a very structured family. Parents who were very loving. Parents are still married till this day, over 50 plus years. And but that's where I lost sight. And going into my, as time progressed, again, those symptoms mitigated, but I never dealt with that underlying issue. And I found alcohol a few years later. And that's where I was like, alcohol, this is what I needed. I didn't need any prescriptions. This is what takes away all the pain. And from that, it fast forward into the whole story that, struggled with addiction. And it escalated very quickly. By the ages of 18 to 23, I went to 12 different treatment centers from Florida to Hawaii, every state in between. I was arrested a bunch of times. And, it really took me down a deep, dark path, not only to contemplation, but attempting suicide. And it's crazy to look back when I was younger, even prior to when I was struggling with the insecurities, the depression, the anxiety, the OCD. Like, how did my life get here? And through my journey, I've been able to uncover and discover that, but it all stemmed and started back when I was 12 or 13 years old and didn't know how to effectively communicate what was going on and not having the proper, at that time, people did the best they could, but not having the best direction and or guidance. So I always thought, like, when you were talking about trauma, just in my mind, I always thought it was like, being beat, being, raped, being molested. I had this idea of what trauma was. And I never knew that it could be something that was self-inflicted. And so a lot of the experiences that I had gone through, even with the hand washing, there was a traumatic experience within that, just the life that I had to live on a daily basis just to feel comfortable in my own skin. And until I was able to actually address those issues, I was not able to get relief or the help that I needed.